Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and it's a pleasure for me today to welcome Dawn Cockrell. Dawn is a certified professional midwife and the founder of the West Texas Birth Services and serves this whole West Texas area as well as New Mexico, parts of New Mexico. And she has been fairly well known in this area as one of the most prominent midwives that service us. And Dawn, it's such a pleasure to have you. And I want to learn all about this because I don't know anything about it. So I may ask you some dumb questions.
No, I'm excited to be here.
Good, thank you. Well, before we start talking about midwifery, am I saying that right?
That's correct.
Midwifery. I want you to tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about you and your family and how you got started in this.
Well, my mother had my little sister when I was 16. So it's kind of like those Duggars. We only had 4 in our family growing up. And I got to be there at her birth, and it was at the hospital. So I saw it from that angle very early on. And after that, I decided I probably would never have kids after seeing that. And then, of course, the reality sets in. You get married, and we were married for 4.5 years and then got pregnant with our first baby. I looked at my husband and I said, I'm not having it at the hospital, I'm having it at home with a midwife. And I knew a midwife in San Angelo who attended all of our babies' births, all 3 of them, and then our 4th one was attended by a friend out of Houston. So I always had home births myself, and I ventured into water birth myself too. And of course, after the first baby was born, I just knew I had to be a part of that community. So I began teaching natural childbirth classes, natural childbirth the Bradley way. I got into doula work, where a doula is with a woman in a hospital setting or a home birth setting, supporting her, but doesn't do any of the clinical things that a doctor or a midwife would do for a woman in labor. And then after that, I got into midwifery. When my firstborn was about 6 months old, I began my midwifery education.
And how long does that take?
Well, it took me 6.5, 7 years. I was raising a family. I homeschool and have a wonderful marriage, so I wanted to keep it that way, so it takes a little more time. You can attend any number of the Texas Department of Health approved midwifery schools.
And that's who you're licensed by?
That's right.
Texas
that's who.
Department of Health.
Yes, that's my governing body. And NARM, the North American Registry of Midwives, certifies us. And so,
so that's like national certification.
Yes.
And the first, your LM is your
state.
And
I'm licensed out of Texas and New Mexico, but nationally a certified professional midwife, a CPM, which is different than a certified nurse midwife. A nurse midwife gets her master's degree in nursing and then goes on into a midwifery school. So she takes a roundabout way going into midwifery, whereas an LM, a certified professional midwife, takes a direct entry into midwifery, bypassing medical model of care. So we have the midwifery model of care.
So essentially the difference between you and a nurse midwife is that she has studied all things, not just birthing.
Right.
And you have focused strictly on birthing.
And I just practice midwifery.
And so from the very beginning, because you had experienced yourself as a woman who had used a midwife.
Yes.
How many times did
4
you say? 4 times. Then you really felt like you understood what you needed as a mother.
Yes, absolutely.
And you understood what the midwife gave to the mother to
the
be.
Community.
And so. And so how soon then after you got certification you were working as a doula, and then you became the certified midwife, and so how long have you been doing that?
Since 1994.
Oh wow. So you've had a lot of experience and birthed a lot of babies.
Yes. I just don't raise them all.
Yeah, you just get to see them
Grow
enter
up.
into this world.
Yes.
Well, how many do you have any numbers of how many you've done?
Over 250 since 2001.
Well, we're going to get into some of the advantages and disadvantages and the complications and all that
Yeah.
later, but I'm still interested because home birthing, the home birthing experience or whatever you call it, is something that's been around since the beginning of time.
Yes.
And is the natural way all over the world even today, except in our Western countries.
Yes.
And what brought us from the stage of trusting the natural way to depending on machines and technology and all of the others?
That's a wonderful question, and it's one that entails a lot of history. There's some wonderful books out there that really addresses it, but I think the slow slide into hospital delivery happened especially around World War I and especially World War II, where people were coming in from communities rural, becoming
exposed to hospitals.
yes,
for the most part.
and their husbands were off. The support system wasn't there. They were off at war, and so midwives by that time had been ostracized, attacked by the American Medical Association as being, people who don't wash their hands and whatever else. There's some interesting posters, and the history is fantastic about it, but we've always been on the books in Texas as not the practice of medicine since 1876, since before the Republic. So it's really interesting how, despite the changes and slide into hospital birth, there was quite a large group of people who continued home birth in Texas from that time forward.
And it seems to me that, like a lot of things, there's a place for everything.
Sure.
There's a place for hospital delivery. There's
Absolutely.
a place for home delivery.
Yes.
It's like when I had my child, one of the things that I wanted to do was breastfeed, and at that time it was kind
just
of
not done.
not a thing.
No.
And so you almost had to fight for it
Sure.
to do it. We're going to have to take a break right now, but we're going to be back in just a minute and continue this interesting conversation with Dawn Cockrell, who is a certified professional midwife and the founder of the West Texas Birth Services. We'll see you in just a minute.
View will be right back.
That was